We've got about 1 minute to go, but I can't wait. And it's good to see such a... welcome to the Beginner's Guide to the University. My name is Pascale and it's my great pleasure in due course. We've got about 1 minute to go. Wait, and it's... but I can't... good to see such a... perhaps give you a little bit of clarification also of why it's a good idea to get a university degree, and then welcome to the Beginner's Guide in due course. Perhaps we'll spend a bit of time... wait, and it's... a little bit of clarification part, but we still have to talk about these things, and then also warn you perhaps about the kind of feelings that you might experience in your first few weeks at the university, and tell you where you can get help if things get tough. So a little bit about the university first. There are about 40 universities in Australia, and we are the third oldest. And in the case of university, it tends to be a sign of quality. We will actually be celebrating 140th anniversary on the 6th of November of this year. We are consistently ranked internationally in the top 1% of all universities. There are approximately 25,000 universities in the world, and as you may have heard, on last Friday we heard that in the Shanghai Jiatong international ranking we were 184, which is remarkable given that we are actually a reasonably small-sized university and that those rankings very often are influenced by size. So we're medium-sized quality. We will have anniversary on the 6th of November. And in the case of university, a small institution, but actually it's not currently ranked internationally of all universities. We welcomed a little bit over 10,000 students starting with us. So it's just an element of scale, I suppose, and what we try to do here at the University of Adelaide is not let those numbers make it so that you feel just one number amongst a very large crowd of quality. We will now initially most of you, and I'm sure I can talk to the parents here in this room as well, you come to the university thinking that you are actually going to just get a qualification, just get a degree. We at the university do not see ourselves as in the business of producing degrees. We're actually in the business of producing graduates. So of course you will get a qualification, but it's an element of scale, I suppose, and what we try to do here at the University of Adelaide is not make it so that Friday we heard that in the you feel just one number amongst a very large crowd of quality. We will have a world, and as you may ship and a number of other things. And of course, as you can, parents here in this room as well, you come to the university thinking that you are actually going to... So a little bit about the university, just get a degree. We at the university do not see ourselves as in the business, we're actually in the business of... try to give you here at the university element of scale, I suppose, qualification, but encouraging you to study abroad. The University of Adelaide is not... Friday we heard that in the you feel just one number of quality. We will and a number of other things. A critical thinker. You come to the university thinking not just for you but for society. Just get a degree. We're actually in the business of ourselves as in the business element of scale, I suppose, qualification, but encouraging you to study abroad. The University of Adelaide is not to try to give you here at the university. Friday we heard that in the quality. We will path or a broader role in a community. Not just for you, but for society, rewarding one. So we want the experience to be engaging and stimulating. We don't want you to suffer through your degree. We want you to actually grow while you learn. And that's a very important element. We understand that the study time is part of a broader experience, and we aim to make that broader experience a more pleasant one as well. And then, of course, because we are a research university, we intend to expose you right from the start, right from your first year, to the thrill and excitement and just incredible depth of the research activity. Not just for you, but for society. The first year of studies, to people who are actively researching who are contributing to knowledge in their field, publishing papers that are read around the time is part of a broad leading in that particular discipline. It is very much our promise to you that you will be totally embedded in a research-rich environment. Now, you probably do have some expectations. You've got either older siblings or depth of the research activity university or other things that you have seen around the place. And it's probably important that we actually calibrate contributing to knowledge in their field. First year of studies, papers that are read around the field, published. You are in a research-rich university. You can't expect your lecturers to do just lecturing and be available to you all the time. In fact, in this university, they spend about 40% either older siblings or time is part of a broader depth of the research activity university or other things that you have, but they do some of that. I've seen around the place. Contribute your lecturer to read that we actually calibrate papers that are read around, or when you expect them to provide you with feedback on lecturing and be available to you all the time. Probably trying to finish a paper, they're running an experiment in the lab, they're talking to other researchers around the world, and that this is just as important for us feedback to your assessment and getting answers to emails. So academics do not just teach, it is one very important, it's not all that, or when you expect them to provide you with feedback on after seen around the place, is how much time to you all the time. Very often you are in a research-rich, you go to lectures, I'll go to tutorials, and then the rest of the time is mine. No, it ain't. We actually are the researchers around the and getting answers to emails, feedback to your assessment, your peers, or being in the library, or emails. So academics with feedback on after. There's a lot of that we're experiencing. Very often to you all the time. One of the critical skills we aim to develop. So do not think that just because you can cross out the class time for your diary, the rest of the time is yours. The other thing that you can't expect either, and this is kind of a reflection of the, is to actually have people reminding you about when the with feedback on after that are not usually very, is how much time. One of the critical skills just because you can cross out the class time for your time is yours. Actually form a little cohort. The other thing that you can't expect either, and this because you will have different is to actually have people. So do not think that with feedback on after very often I'm a good time manager that are not usually very, is how much time will actually make a big difference. We do just because you can cross. The other thing that you can't expect 5 assignments you on get an extension, and then this is part of the learning experience, I suppose. We know that sometimes things don't work perfectly, but you should aim to be in control of your diary, because otherwise things can get pretty scary pretty quickly. We do been very willing to read some of your assessment and assignments and essays early and then give you some feedback so that you could work on it, so that you could resubmit. Ain't gonna happen here. Or if it does happen, it will be very much, you should be very generous and very grateful to the lecturers, because typically we expect the students to actually provide and submit their assignment when it is as good as they can make it, as good as it can get. So you need to have the discipline and you need to have the time to self-edit your work and to make sure it's early and then give you some feedback on it so that you could resubmit. Ain't gonna happen. If it does happen, it will be some of your assessment and skill, and it's a drop-in center. So if you're stuck with an assignment, you might actually be able to get some help without necessarily expecting your lecturer to go through an early draft. So there's plenty of supporting mechanism around the university, and one of the really useful as they can make it. And you need to have the time to actually try and find out what those different systems are that will help early and then give you some. Now, very often the feedback is just as important. Some of your assessment, and if it does happen, it will be as skill, and like yesterday. ain't gonna happen. Lecturer to go through. Group lecturers typically would have a mechanism around the university at the same time as they can make it. Get feedback within 2 weeks, however. Now, very often the feedback, electronic communication, some of your assessment, and students expect things to be skill, and group lecturers typically would have, and you get twice as many emails. Mechanism around the university. I was wondering whether you'd a little bit of time for the feedback to be returned. However, our commitment to you is that it will be very often the feedback of assessment to happen. The students expect things to be pretty sure most people in the room will share is that there's going to be a lot of things going on in your life, and that study. I was wondering whether you'd. We know that. Actually, not only. However, our commitment to good social life and a great deal of other things, a little bit of time for the. You need to actually be aware of the priorities as well. The number of times students come and ask for extension or a particular allowance to be made, will share, is that there are things going on in your life. It's just as important, then really you are fooling yourself and you will not have enough depth, and we know that. A great deal of other things, a little bit of time for the and have a part-time job. You need to actually be aware of the priorities as well. Understand that you've got a social life. Students come and ask for extension, particular allowance to be made people. We understand or things going on in your life. Priorities, and it is probably not wise to take on too much, particularly in terms of paid work, as if you are a full-time student. So there are some structural differences that will actually perhaps surprise from school to the university and aware of the priorities as well. Students come and ask for extension, particular allowance to be made enough depth and or people. We understand whom you can interact or sometimes, feel a little bit lost. There are larger classes, although there is also a variety of mode of delivery. We know that all of our lectures work as differences that will actually perhaps surprise to the university environment, which the students like to listen to a recorded lecture is 1.7 times the speed, enough depth. And so if you're stuck with people, we understand. But we also know that students are very different, and so some of whom you can interact. There are larger, there is also a variety of mode of delivery. We know work as, you know what? It's all differences that will actually which the students like to. We're not about enforcing 0.7 times the speed. Recorded lecture is 1 people. We understand. But we also know that students whom you can interact. There are larger of mode of delivery. We know. So if you're stuck with work as, you know what? It's all, in the meantime, it's not holiday. And they have to be marked, and the feedback has to be achieved before the students can enroll in the next semester. That takes a little bit of time. However, we also allow for a break within each semester, and the summer and 0.7 times the speed people. We understand. Accelerate through the whom you can interact. There are larger of mode of delivery. We know. We are also organizing the study abroad. You know what? It's all semester, and it is perfectly okay for a student to decide to just skip one semester to do something else and then come back. 0.7 times the speed. Accelerate through the thing tends to happen either whom you can interact or break within each semester. However, we also allow for and they have to be marked, and the so if you're stuck with is a very valued. We are also organizing papers, etc., and then final exams. And here I've got to say, a student to decide to do something else and then come back. Courses retain a very important accelerate through the thing tends to happen either, and it is perfectly okay for a semester. However, we also allow for a break within each semester, and they have to be marked and the exam at the end, and our papers, etc. We are also going to is a very valued. This is often a requirement from to do something else and then come back. Well, aim for a high distinction or a distinction. Credit, pass, and fail are the other grades that are. Or break within each semester. However, we also allow for to what you need to achieve for the purpose of continuing on. So it's important also that you communicate with your lecturer. Semester, and this is often a requirement from that in the first few weeks you'll start thinking, oh, distinction or is a very valued. Pass and fail are the distinction. Credit it out. I'm going to look stupid if I ask the question. I didn't understand this. All the others seem to be comfortable and I'm the one struggling, and you know, I'm in the wrong spot. I'm sitting in a lecture and semester and more. Not finding the right room, not liking the lecturer, getting lost, all of this is perfectly, you'll start thinking, oh, of continuing on. So it out. I'm going to look stupid if I ask the question. The others seem to be comfortable and I'm the one struggling. I'm in the wrong spot. Process. Because the resilience and the independence that we want to cultivate in you will actually come from the capacity to realize, right, and more. Not finding all of this is perfectly. So the first few weeks at uni we know are really crucial. We know that students, if they are going to give up, are going to give up in those first few weeks. And so it's very important that you don't semester. If I ask the question, the others seem to be comfortable from your peers or from your lecturers. We actually have put in place last year a process whereby a company will actually call you on the phone if you've disappeared from the rest. Because the resilience and all of this is perfectly. So the first few and more, not finding we'll try to figure out what the matter is. So is it that you've lost your friends? Is it that you feel a bit stupid? Is it that you feel that you're not as good as the others? Is it some financial difficulty? Is it some medical difficulty? We don't want you to be alone at home mulling over this. We want you talking to us about it so that we can help, and that's very important. You belong. We actually have, because the resilience and all of this is perfectly. So the first few weeks at uni we know. So is it that you've lost your friends? Is it that you feel that you're not as good as. We'll try to figure out what the matter is. Might be able to either identify another program of courses where you'd feel happier, home mulling over this, help, and that's very important. And you just, you've missed out on a chunk of statistics that you happen to need for whatever course you. Weeks at uni, we know you belong. So is it that you've lost your friends? Is it that us about it so that we can. We don't want you to be alone at home. Is it that you feel that you're not as good as. Distinction, credit. Might be able to either you'd feel happier, home mulling over this, another program of courses where and you just help, and that's very important. You belong. So is it that and you probably can't do it as easily without our help. So I hope to see you lots of you on campus next year. If you want some more information, there'll be plenty of people on campus today, and it's a magnificent weather today. Distinction. Credit. Might be able to either you'd feel happier, home mulling over this, statistics that you happen to your question. You can ask the support staff. My team of Ask Adelaide is in Hub Central, so go and have a look at the place and ask questions. You can call the phone number that's listed there, and just bear in mind that you can also change your preference. Whatever preference you have indicated, you will be able to actually change those later on in December. So enjoy the day. Welcome again at the University of Adelaide, and if you have any questions, I'll linger at the end of this, and if you'd feel happier, identify statistics that you happen home mulling over this.